Hello everybody, and welcome to another week. I cannot believe that it's already been a week since we last got together for a reading. It's been a pretty free-flowing energy, which probably in great part comes from the fact that you may have noticed that Mercury is now out of its direct shadow and moving full force ahead. So all of those time constraints and sort of distortions that we felt in the last 2 months have come to their end, and it feels as though we're now moving into a new flow, a new groove. And in addition to that, all of our energies right now are really leading up to the solstice on the 21st of December, the shortest day of the year, but also one of the most spiritual, and that is why there are so many holidays that take place around that time, is because it is a very symbolic time for us to be able to go on that introspective, empathic journey to review and renew. What else do we have? Venus and Jupiter squaring Chiron, the wounded warrior asteroid. And what does that tell us? It tells us that we are coming into a period of psychic healing, letting go of some excess baggage, excess weight, excess space-taking brain processes that we don't need anymore. And that will happen naturally because we have been doing the work. But all that said, it is intensified by the fact that Neptune is squaring the Sun. Now that Neptune is direct, we are also experiencing some very forward motion in terms of our ability to dream, our ability to expand on our vision. All of this is so interesting because as we move closer and closer to the Capricornian energy of 2020, we're also going to find that outside structures tend to try to restrict us in some shape or form. And so there's going to be a bit of a push-pull. But have no fear, because you will come out victorious. But it's going to be a process. 2020 is going to be a process for all of us. So be prepared and rest now while you can. And that is exactly what the cards have in store for us this week. Because our spirit animal oracle, I will never get that right for some reason, is number 9. Bear spirit. Brown bear spirit. And brown bear spirit tells us to take time out. And when I first saw that, I was like, holy shit, really? Who has time at this time of year to take time out? There are ways to do so while still observing and respecting structure. So, let us read from the Oracle book. Brown bear spirit, take time out. There is a time to act and a time to focus your attention on patient strategizing. The arrival of brown bear spirit signals that you are best served by foregoing hard work towards your goals at this moment and instead taking the time out to meditate. Or just take a nap so you can refresh yourself and begin planning what you want to co-create next. Come to know the lay of the land as you contemplate and imagine what you might do in this vast space of possibility before you, and begin forming a plan. Remember, sleep allows for dreaming, and rest allows for clear-headed strategizing. How might you become the person you wish to be, and experience what your heart desires? Insights will arise as you explore the possibilities and begin envisioning your plan. Knowing what you want will ensure you use your energy wisely in the days ahead. Be patient at this time, relax and be calm and peaceful so you can recharge. The call for action will come later. And our protection message for those of us who are struggling to integrate these energies is the following. When you become so frazzled that you can't decide how to move forward, Brown Bear Spirit arrives to remind you to let go of your impatience in getting to the answers and solving the problems that face you. Now is the time for rest and meditation. Take a break, let insights arise, and know that you have plenty of time to make plans. Brown Bear Spirit reminds you that sometimes the best and most effective action is non-action, allowing the situation around you to reveal itself to you so you can better understand it. Remember that what is yours will never be withheld from you, so you really can relax and wait until the next right action is revealed. Miracles come from out of nowhere, and yours will arrive on Great Spirit's timetable. And it's important to remember at this time of year that we can all get a little rundown as the weather keeps flip-flopping around from warm to cold or wet to dry or whatever the problem is or the extremity of where you are. So pay attention to that, even those of you in warm climates, because you may be finding yourself in air conditioning. And Brown Bear Spirit reminds us that we are all fragile if we do not pay attention to ourselves and our well-being. And on that note, I think we'll get straight into this week's message through the reading. Our underlying energy is... Oh, hi. Come here. That's another kitty, not mine, but a very cute one nonetheless. Temperance is our underlying energy. Balance. I mean, could that be any more of a reinforcement of what we just heard from Brown Bear Spirit? And it was clarified by the Ace of Wands, which means that there is opportunity on the horizon for us through anchoring ourselves in our own spaces and allowing things to happen. Making sure that we go with the flow, that we don't block the flow by overindulging or by cutting ourselves off from the things that our body and our mind tell us that we need. Is of the utmost importance. Ace of Wands tells us that there will be a lot of inspiration that comes from giving ourselves that time and space to be at one with ourselves. In our underlying past energies, we had the moon, the card of intuition, the card of the inner journey. That's how I'm reading this time, because it was clarified by two cards, the Two of Cups and the Four of Pentacles. Now, the Two of Cups and the Four of Pentacles can't be more in contrast to one another. The Four of Pentacles is the card of the miser, and let's not limit ourselves to feeling that being miserly is just about money. It is also about how we express ourselves emotionally. Are we coming out of a period where we have tended to disconnect a lot from the outside world for fear that if we give something up of our little inner sanctum and comfort, we may feel that we're losing something. But what we come to understand in that process is that only when we let go of what we're holding on to do we reach a place of union, communion. I'll explain why that's important as we get to the end of the reading. But, well, I don't even have to, now that I say that, because the fact of the matter is actually the next card was the Six of Swords clarified by the Three of Cups. And the Six of Swords clarified by the Three of Cups tells us that we have moved away as a result of letting go of that emotional miserly energy and allowing ourselves perhaps to take a chance, to take risks in terms of how we involve ourselves with other people once again. And it's allowed us to make this journey to smoother waters, away from strife and struggle and arguments and disharmony within and without. And the Three of Cups is that card of communion. So if we've been doing our work, our intuition, our inner journey has allowed us to make this transition, and it is the foundation of where we are now, currently. Judgment stands there as the next card in our underlying past energy, clarified by the Nine of Cups. And the Judgment card, I mean, it is the card indicating divine intervention, indicating that there's a sense of a course correction even in terms of our destiny, and in turn that has offered us the opportunity to find a sense of emotional balance within ourselves. So basically, the whole underlying past energy is telling us that we have gone from being closed off, being limited in our vision, and through an intuitive inner journey process, we have let go of that energy. We've allowed ourselves to find communion in some shape or form in our environment that in turn is giving us the opportunity to have smoother foundations for what's to come. And there is a sense of destiny, course correction to that has allowed us to also find a true inner emotional balance. In our present energies, we have the Nine of Wands, clarified by the Eight of Swords. Not necessarily the cutest pairing there, but the Nine of Wands tells me that we may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Again, Brown Bear Spirit speaks to this message of telling us where we're perhaps going wrong right now. That we are weary and therefore wary. I think that's right. Because we've allowed ourselves in this process perhaps to feel that we've emptied our own cup a little bit too much. Some of us might not be feeling that way. Some of us might actually have done the conscious work, and therefore we find ourselves just in the awareness that this is where we have been in the past. But because it is here, it's telling me that a lot of us actually are sort of maybe a little bit stuck in this energy right now, because the Eight of Swords is that card of restriction, self-restriction, of feeling it's the stories that we tell ourselves. It is our own narrative. It is the card with the woman who is bound with 8 swords around her and blindfolded, and you know, the stories that she's telling herself are the real things that are getting in our way, not the actual opportunities or what's actually surrounding her in her environment. So maybe I'm getting the feeling that because we had the Four of Pentacles in that first row, and it's all sort of surrounding this notion of this need for balance, is that right now we're being asked to correct the imbalance. We are being asked to focus on the idea that we've done all this work to come into the Nine of Cups energy of self-satisfaction, of self-knowing on an emotional and spiritual level. And then we have to bring ourselves back to that, because if we don't, and we get too caught up in our stories of lack and of deficiency, then we loop back to past negative cycles. It's not here to stay, though. This is just a little bit of a wobble that we have to correct right now. Because the way that this happens in our present is we have the Eight of Cups and the Seven of Cups. These came out together. And they were clarified by the Empress. Now, the Empress is a card of fertility and abundance and opportunity. And again, being in this Nine of Cups energy of wish fulfillment and self-satisfaction. But in order to embody that energy, we have to walk away from something. And walking away from the Seven of Cups, if you look at this journey, because these actually came out where the 8 came out first on the left and the 7 came out on the right, so it's a little bit of a convoluted message there that we should break down a little bit in imagining what it means when we step away. Again, we've already had this with the idea of the Four of Pentacles, that like if we hold on tight to those Four Pentacles, we don't have the opportunity to gain the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th Pentacle. I think this is a repeat of this message, that we have to not think small. Maybe we have a problem right now where we might be erring on the side of thinking a little too small and thinking in terms of patterns that we have already established don't work for us and that we have already walked away from. Because what those patterns lead us to is to a false sense of choice. It leads us to a place of feeling as though we have all these options and they may be overwhelming to us, or when you have too many options, you don't choose anything. I mean, think about when you're trying to watch something on Netflix or HBO or whatever, BBC iPlayer or wherever you may be, where you may be faced with the choice of entertainment galore, and you put like, I don't know how many things in your queue to watch, and then you only actually every now and then get around to finding something you actually want to watch, or you like go through it and you spend more time thinking about what's in your queue and what you feel like watching and don't feel like watching than you do actually watch anything. So I hope that made sense, because I kind of lost my actual conscious flow there. But walk away from the notion that you have too many choices to be able to focus on one thing. Focusing on one or two things will ultimately be much more fulfilling, and that's where you find that you have this pregnant energy, this very fertile energy within yourself. If you spread yourself too thin, then you become uninspired. And as a result, of course, this is all a flow. It tells a story. So this flow from going from, in our present energy, the 9 of Wands, that feeling of frustration and weariness and self-doubt, realizing that it is because we are focusing on too many different things at once, which in turn stunts our ability to tap into our abundant flow of power. We have to walk away from like those choices that don't serve us, eliminate them, realizing that they're not actually healthy choices, or that we're not actually like living to the best of our standards, by diluting our energy so much, and in turn we get the wheel of fortune comes along, spins that wheel towards a place of lightness. The Princess of Wands, or the Page of Wands, which is a card of playful, childlike, fun, mischief, silliness, giddiness, flirtatiousness. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. So this is where our energy is being guided now, which is perfect for the time of year that it is, because that's really where we want to be. You know, Brown Bear Spirit may have been telling us to meditate and take a nap, but what do we meditate and take a nap for? Well, it may be like a little disco nap that we need to take because we are going to go have some fun. So allow yourself to celebrate and have fun, but also remember that you got to keep your eye on a prize, not 7 prizes. In our future energy, so what's coming up for us? Well, we've got a very interesting, I was a little like devastated when I first saw this, because I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to like feel that, and I certainly don't want anybody else to have to. But there's always a reason for everything. We have the 5 of Cups, sorry. But thank you for being enthusiastic about it. Cards. We got the 3 of Cups that I asked for as a clarifier from the Rider-Waite before I even took the clarifier from the Hermetic Tarot deck. So, which is the King of Pentacles. So what this tells me is, again, there is this duality to our energy right now where we're not focused enough, and temperance as our underlying energy again reminds us that everything in moderation, everything in balance. You know, if we spend too much time alone, that doesn't serve us. If we spend all of our time around other people and we don't do our inner work, that doesn't serve our greater, highest purpose either. If we work all the time, same thing. If we don't work at all and we're lazy and we just like expect life to happen for us, that's not gonna like help either. So everything in these cards tells us that we have an enormous amount of power right now, both astrologically and in terms of the collective energy through the cards. We've had those messages telling us that this is our time. This is a great time. Jupiter in Capricorn may not be Jupiter in Sagittarius, where everything was like about coming up with brand new plans and whatever. And now where Jupiter is in Capricorn, it is going to require, basically think of it this way. You're going to have tons of luck with Jupiter's placement, but it's going to be in Capricornian energy, which is structural. It means that you have to go in like a surgeon and actually like focus on what it is that you actually need to do. You know, it's not even about cutting anything out anymore. Like, you know, it's not about like, you know, removing a cancer or something. It is about infusing your luck quotient with structure. I can't even believe that that's coming out of my own mouth, because anybody that knows me would know that that is so not like my MO. But I gotta learn that too in the coming year. That's gonna be my major focus. It's all gonna be about restructuring and anyway, so the 5 of Cups, card of sorrow, crying over like things that have gone wrong, you know, focusing on those 3 spilled cups and not on those 2 beautiful cups that are still sitting there behind him, and that beautiful calm river and beautiful horizon of opportunity. you know, and the bridge is right there to get there. Everything's in place. But no, crying about that. I don't even know what that is that's come out of those cups, but never mind. But guess what? We have everything in our power to get over this. We don't need to look back. We've already done the Eight of Cups. In our present, that's the shift that's taking place prior to this Wheel of Fortune change. We walked away from the things that did not serve us. We are reaping the rewards of that right now. We are coming into the Capricornian restructuring as a result of moving away from that, with the reinforcement of the luck of Jupiter. So, again, this is more a card to me that's telling us stop focusing on that, if that's what you're doing, and start focusing on this communion card again that we had in the beginning. It's what got us out of the dark place before, and it's what's going to keep us on the right path to something beautiful and magnificent and expansive. Commune with others, community, celebration, coming together with other people in alignment to celebrate in gratitude, grace, and generosity. Because the clarifier of the King of Pentacles, which that was a very weird way of holding that card, is telling us again that we are abundant. We are in full wealth right now. Whether that means that you've got a lot of money, or you've got a lot of love, or you've got a lot of like nurturing power. You got a lot of it to serve your future path. And the only way that you are going to get fulfillment and growth out of this abundance is through communion. You have to stop sitting around in your own little bubble just trying to make it all work inside your head and inside your own personal space. That's just not worth it. That's not what life is all about. You got to get out there. You got to spend some time with other people. You've got to give back. You've got to expand. And I know sometimes we get very safe and we get very comfortable in our lives and in our environments, and especially when it's cold outside, we don't want to step outside of our comfort zone. But if you don't, you're missing out on a whole lot of excitement. An opportunity. Okay, next in our future energies, we have the Queen of Swords, clarified by the Ten of Cups and the Page of Cups, Princess of Cups. These came out together. They both needed to clarify this card for some reason. And my understanding of this message would be that, again, because everything flows, everything is a journey. So we've moved through this energy. The Wheel of Fortune changes. We go into that more joyful, light sense of well-being, of gregariousness, of youthful spirit, to go out into the world, letting go of those sorrows and those hard knock experiences that we may be attached to emotionally that hold us back. We come back into communion. It's when we go out and we participate in the world that we get opportunities to feel just how abundant we truly are. In doing so, we do have to remind ourselves that we have boundaries, that we have learned how to have boundaries. And because we have the grace and gratitude to understand that we have our own boundaries and therefore other people have theirs, we sit in ownership of those things for the service of ourselves and of others, not to cut other people down, not to cut people out or shut people out, but instead to elevate them into a place of abundant emotional fulfillment. Now that may sound a little weird, but if you really think about it, when we know ourselves and we know our values, we participate, even with that page of wands, light-hearted, youthful energy, we just participate with our adult minds and our adult experiences. And we learn how to be able to be as how would I put this? Because these are two, they're both cups, but at the same time they're sort of opposite ends of the spectrum of sociability with our emotions. Because the Page of Cups is, again, that youthful, take a chance on anything, like be in the spirit of that all people are worthy of communion and enjoyment, and we just enjoy being light. And I'm sorry, I'm getting very distracted by that neighbor's dog that is just making a lot of noise, but I guess there's something going on out there. And then the other side of this being the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups being the emotional legacy card. It is when we have so much that our cup overflows so much that there is abundance in that for everyone else. It is a card of emotional fulfillment and success. And again, everything comes down to the flow. You know, when we can flow, you know, we nourish ourselves, and that in turn allows us to nourish other people, which means that we know that we have to give ourselves the opportunity to feel things with other people. Otherwise, you just shrivel up into a soul of no purpose. Sorry. But the Queen of Swords, again, I should also emphasize that this isn't just about boundaries. This is about ideas. This is the person who knows very firmly who they are, and she knows her values, she knows what inspires her, she knows what she likes, and she knows what she needs, and she doesn't take any bullshit, and she doesn't allow other things outside of herself, people, circumstances, whatever, to get in the way of her going after the things that she needs. So could this simply be that we finally shed this Eight of Swords and Nine of Wands energy that we had in our beginning of our present energy? You know, that we're finally getting the opportunity to shed that. And the way that we're going to do that is to go out into the world, be sociable, allow ourselves to interact with people so that we actually see how much we've grown. There's this great sense of purposefulness and satisfaction in going out into the world after you've gone through one of those subconscious, conscious rites of passage, where you've learned a karmic lesson, and then you embody the fruits of your labor, and you go out into the world, and then you have the experience of sharing that, not by going around telling everybody, oh, I've had this epiphany because, like, I've had, like, a shit, like, experience that ended up being beautiful in the end, but because you don't need to tell them about the shit experience. You're just beautiful. Your energy is beautiful. You are elevated, and you elevate other people subsequently. And they see your wisdom, they feel it, and they're drawn to you. And that is what this is all about. Remembering that at the same time, you still have to stay in brown bear spirits. Balance. Time out. Let things come to you as well. You know, maybe that's a part of it. Go out there, embody all of those things that you've become. Be the Page of Wands, but at the same time, allow your energy to emanate from you and to attract people to you. You don't have to actually do all of that effort. Go to those Christmas parties. Go to those end of year celebrations. And see what happens. Because if you've done that work, you're going to attract some interesting experiences. And people, possibly. We end with death. The death of what? Because it's not physical death. Don't worry. It might be pretty bad if we all died. But it's not physical death. I just said that to be humorous, and it wasn't really that funny. But anyway. The death card. It's the death of this. When I asked for clarification, the death of that miserable little twat, like sitting there, and I hate to say it, yes. The Four of Cups can be a person who is broody as a result of, they're brooding because they have been disconnected from Source as a result of heartbreak or being fucked over, for lack of a better way of putting it. So, it's not that you can't have empathy for what this person is feeling. But when you are intellectually enlightened enough to, and spiritually enlightened enough to get to the point where you understand that really most of the misery that we feel is, brought on by ourselves, because it really is based on how we're experiencing other people, and we have the choice, as to how we're going to experience them. You get to the point where the Four of Cups is a little bit of he's just kind of a dick, to be perfectly honest with you. And, because there he has 3 cups in front of him, he's not interested in those, and then he's got another one that the divine is bringing directly to him, and he's got his freaking arms and legs crossed, not open to anything, not even looking, like a petulant little moron. So, this is over, because you just might have been that person for a long time, and that is not a criticism, especially not if you've let go of it now, and that's what's on the horizon. That's where a lot of this brand new, excellent energy is coming from. So instead of that, well, we didn't get a card to tell us what there would be instead of that. That's up to us, and that's to be discovered, and it's something that we might discover in next week's reading. But we did get one clarifier for the Hermetic deck for that, and it takes us full circle because the Hierophant is the card of structure. So again, this is a message from Capricorn as we start to see Capricorn emerge in our astrology. With Jupiter moving into Capricorn after being in Sagittarius for a year, and being in Capricorn for the next year, it's going to be a big influence for us. And again, what did I say earlier? Capricorn is all about structure. On the negative end of the spectrum, it can be about restriction. But we're breaking free of restrictions. So there's going to be some hard work, but the fact that we got death to this, clarified by that Capricornian energy, tells me that what's going to allow us moving forward to embody the best version of ourselves and to benefit the most from these energies, we are going to have to embrace our own version of structure in our lives. So, it comes full circle. And on that note, I do not have any way of further concluding on this reading. I'm pretty sure it was self-explanatory and that there was a flow through all of this, but I do have to say that I also feel as though I've been a little bit all over the place, and I have to go back and edit out that awful initial reading of Brown Bear Spirit's Oracle message. So if there's a little jumpy cut in there, it's just because I read like a fool the first time. So anyway, I wish you all a fantastic week ahead. Remember to take time to stay in balance and flow, to rest, to nap, to meditate, to not live in expectation, but to live in full embodiment of your power and allow things to happen. You probably spent this week planting a lot of seeds, so maybe just let the seeds grow. And that's it. Mwah. Goodbye.